All right, let's talk about the election for 2020, and let's talk about why there is a more likely case for civil war, and let's talk about voter fraud. So, voter fraud, for all you idiots who think that it doesn't exist, yes, it does. It happens, and we're going to go through that now. Look, Philly, fraud case expands. New Jersey, mail-in ballot scheme exposed. West Virginia, mail carrier nabbed in mail-in ballot scheme. California, voter fraud conviction exposes Skid Row scheme. Illinois, let non-citizens register to vote in blunder. Alabama, New Jersey, Wisconsin. It just keeps going. New Mexico, Indiana, Milwaukee. Okay, right? All over the place. So it happens. Now, here's something else. This is from whitehouse.gov, a sampling selection of fraud cases from across the country. The United States has a long and unforgettable history of election fraud. The Heritage Foundation is providing a list of election fraud cases from across the country, broken down by state, where individuals were either convicted of vote fraud or where a judge overturned the results of an election. This is not an exhaustive list, but simply a sampling that demonstrates that many different ways in which voter fraud is committed. Preventing, deterring, and prosecuting such fraud is essential to protecting the integrity of our voting process. If I feel that if you're going to vote, your ID, voter registration card, go show up in person. Right? If you can go out and you can riot and burn shit down and attack people in the streets and stand on the road to get hit like a fucking dumb fuck, then you can go out and vote. 1,071 proven instances of voter fraud, 938 criminal convictions, 43 civil penalties, 74 diversion programs, 8 judicial findings, and 8 official findings. Here's the whatever website if you want to go, if you want to read through all this. The reason I am addressing this is because I personally have now seen an instance that makes me think there's something fishy going on. So, right now we're having this walk away movement. I walked away a long time ago, and I'm trying to do it officially now. You're talking to someone who grew up in a democratic family, had at least what I thought was democratic values, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, things like that. Stuff that in my mind was always represented by the left, and either it is no longer represented by that, or I didn't realize that the left never was that in the first place. I haven't figured out which it is. Either I was wrong, or the left is not what it is, or is not now what it was. Okay, so I tried to register as a Republican, right? I got a registration application, I filled everything out, and I sent it in to the supervisor of elections, right? I sent it into, or I think that's where they wanted me to send it to, but whatever. This is what I got in response. Dear, and it has my name, it has my voter registration number, my address, and blah 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 blah. Dear at Corbin Dallas, even though it's not my real name, we recently received your voter registration application. However, we could not complete the application process because certain information required by Florida Statute 97.0535A was missing or in question. Your application was incomplete for the following reason or reasons. Your application was incomplete because you did not indicate that you have not been adjudicated mentally incompetent. All right, and then the rest of your driver's license, full ID, blah 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 blah. The rest is just how to continue forward. And I'm sitting here looking at this, and I'm like, what in the fuck are these people talking about? My mental competency has never been called into question. So I called my lawyer. No, first I called someone within the legal system who I used to deal with. I actually called my old probation officer. He's a really nice guy. I called him and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Gordon, can you do me a favor?" First off, hey, how like went through the niceties. He was surprised to see me because it's been like, I don't know, 6 years since I've talked to this guy. But he was a good dude. So I called him up, right? I called the office thinking he may still work there. Funny enough, he does. And I was like, "Hey, Mr. Gordon, this is so and so," and he's like, and I had to remind him who I was. He's like, "Oh man, what's going on?" I was like, "Good, things have been going great. I'm out of, haven't gotten in trouble. All's well. Like, I'm past your recidivism rates, but here's what's going on. I went to switch parties, and this is the notice I got. And as far as I know, this was never brought into question. Is there a chance that a court could have found me mentally incompetent without ever informing me? He's like, not to my knowledge. I was like, do you have any way to pull up my record to find out if that was ever done? He said, no. And I was like, oh, shit. Well, okay. So continue on. So he doesn't know anything about it. So I was like, all right, fuck it. So I called my lawyer. So this phone call that took all of 5 minutes that cost me $100. So I called him up and I was like, look, can you pull up all my stuff to see if I have anything like that? Because he told me no, they cannot find you mentally incompetent and not tell you. You have to be there in court for that to happen. I was like, well, I don't have any recollection of that ever being like it's never happened any times I've ever been in court. So he pulls up my records, and funny enough, I'm absolutely right. There is nothing in there that says anything about my mentally being adjudicated mentally incompetent. Right? I was like, okay. So what's going on? Why is this happening? And he's like, I don't know. You should call the supervisor of elections office and find what information they have that leads them to believe that this is, the case. I said, you know what? That's fine. So I called this number right here, and I spoke to a very nice lady on the phone. I said, look, this is what's going on. As far as I know, this hasn't happened. I've called my very old probation officer, and I've called my lawyer. So we're already $100 into this. I need to know why this is. And she says, okay, well, she asked me some information to pull it up. She pulls up a digital copy of my application, and she goes, oh, there's nothing wrong with this. Uh, Excuse me? What do you mean? She's like, there's nothing wrong with this. I don't know why they sent this to you. We don't have anything on record on that. I don't know why. Well, guess what? I've been a registered Democrat my whole life, and now I'm registered, or was trying to register to the Republican Party. So someone in this office decided to bullshit and reject my application to switch parties, my voter registration. Think about this. So you're talking about voter fraud happening, and like you can go through and do a Google search, and you can find where people are doing it. Like one of the YouTube channels I watched, the guy he claimed that he got an application for someone's cat that used to live there. There's tons of instances of it happening, and now with the mail-in ballots, like I could vote for my roommate if I wanted to. He'll get one. And you're talking about mail-in ballots not being fraudulent. That's bullshit. And now I have a personal story of this not being the case because the lady, she processed the application they had on file. I did not need to fill out a new application to register. Think about that. So someone saw that I was registering as a Republican and decided to deny my application and gave a bullshit reason that there is actually no foundational basis for. Nothing. I've I've called my lawyer back and I've talked to him about possibly suing or trying to find out if there's an investigation, and he's advised me that it's probably not worth it. So I don't know if I still want to press forward with it or not, because I may just come out of pocket a bunch of money to do that. But at the same time, like, I'm really upset about this. This really bothers the fuck out of me. So, all right, well, let me know, like, if you have something. Like, I want to know if anybody else has some instances like this, because I want to see it happening. Because you're right, we can read anything in an article online. So, but if you have a personal story where you are getting dicked over for voting, how about this? Even if you're a Democrat and you're trying to do something with voting, and like there's something going on and it's fishy, let me know, because I don't like that at all. Like, I respect our right to vote and what it means, and so people fooling around with it regardless of what your ideology is, I don't want people fucking with anyone's vote. So, all right, we'll see you in the next one.